My name is Trot, and I am interviewing a street busker who goes by the name of Blue today. And let's start with a couple of questions. You want to move over, team?
Yeah, just do it.
So, you go by the name Blue.
Oh no.
Is there anything behind that?
No, there's not
That you
really
wanna
nothing.
share?
It's just a nickname I've carried for 30 years, and it has to do with blue teeth. And if you go to my website, you can see it. UncleScam.org, my hero. UncleScam.org, www, all that stuff. I had blue teeth, 2 caps, since I was 20 years old. So people called me Blue, and that's why the blue. And it stayed there. I've pretty much been Blue for 40 years, 30 years. Yeah.
It's a great name. I actually really love
It is.
the feeling of it. So I'm just going to go through some questions right now with you, and feel free to expand on any of them as much as you'd like. The first one that I have is, when did you start this act on the streets?
I started working on the streets in 1991. 92. Fall of 1992. Fall of 1992. I started working on the streets of Cambridge, right up here in Brattle Square. I was walking past Kmart one day, and I suddenly saw this big steel ring they were throwing away. They were getting rid of their display racks. So I grabbed 3 of these big rings, and as I was walking home, I just thought they'd be nice in the apartment, throw them around, and steel hula hoops. What more can you ask? But they were 6 foot around. And I ended up halfway home, I just suddenly said, oh, I know what I can do with this. And when I got back to my house, I walked over to my tricycle that was sitting there, and I held it over the top of it. And I said, oh, I can do puppets over the top of this steel ring. I'd been looking for something to do. This guy just fired me, and so I needed a job, and I decided I would start a puppet show. How's that?
And was that the only inspiration for starting it?
That
or what
was absolutely the only inspiration for starting it, yes. Specifically for a puppet show.
But your feelings at the time were geared around different political views, or involved with different political views?
Let's see, in 1991, 92, I was working shit jobs, and I actually started working for people I didn't know. And that was a mistake. So I was looking to do something that I didn't have to work for anybody. In 1985, I'd started shooting video, and I went to Key West to shoot a buskers festival. And so at the buskers festival, I met a bunch of buskers, and one of them happened to come from here in Harvard Square. Mark the Juggler, the Can Do Show. He's now retired. Fell down and hurt himself. And when I came back up, I was talking to him and shooting video of the buskers that were playing. I'd been doing that anyway. I was shooting video of street performers and coffee houses and poetry readings. Those were I like to shoot live performance. So after watching all of these street performers and performers for so long, I looked at them and I said, damn, I'm better than any of them are. What the hell? These people, they're doing, a great folk singers, great poets, but, they were just doing folk songs and poetry. They weren't doing anything that I hadn't heard before.
So the idea of Uncle Scam came...
Uncle Scam comes directly from buskers. Buskers are scam artists in general. They're money-grubbing little, anti-human people. They don't care about people any more than you give me the $5 and I'm happy. And if you don't give me the $5, I'm going to curse you out. Normal street performer, straight out. beggars on the street. They're working for nothing. Now, I'm a street performer. I'm the only street performer that doesn't do a hat pitch, would never curse anyone out for not giving me money. I am a street performer. I perform on the streets. I'm supposed to make a living at it, but I'm not supposed to make $600 an hour at it. You know? And then, in my making of that $600 an hour, stop everyone else around me from working.
Mm-hmm.
See? Now I do a quiet show. My show's not as quiet now as it was then, because I learned my lesson and I soon figured out the only way to stop them from making too much noise and killing my show was to kill their show first. And just take, you come down, you set up in front of me, within 50 feet of me or 100 feet away from me, and then you play too loud for me to work, and I'm going to kill you.
I can see the difficulty, yeah.
I'm just going to kill you. I'm going to walk right up to you and tell you what an asshole you are, and they didn't like that at all.
What is the primary message that the puppet is speaking?
Oh, my primary, well, it changes. It changes all the time. You want to go into politics.
I always want to go into politics.
That's where it's at.
I'm fiery with the politics.
Well, the politics is coming. In 1992, we were going through some obvious okay, let's go back. We'll go back to where it started, where the actual Uncle Scam came from. I was shooting video of demonstrations, homeless demonstrations. And all of my friends were homeless people. I've been a hippie a long time, and we're basically homeless. That's the whole idea. We roam around. We don't need a home. We don't have any possessions. We don't, we're loose. We're free. Well, come up to the 80s. Now, I've, of course, had 2 kids and done all of that stuff, so I can now do a little bit more. The kids got out of high school. I started doing the homeless, and the homeless were really good. We'd run a demonstration, we'd camp out at MIT, we'd do all the things, sing all the songs, and then the city would come in and offer the top 5 people, the cleanest, the people who knew how to do any organization, housing. As soon as those people got housing, the whole thing would fall apart because nobody else was smart enough to know how to keep it together and make it. So the scam was, I can start up, and new people would come into town, and they would all of a sudden start agitating the local homeless, who don't care, we're dumb, to come out and go for housing for the homeless. And of course, within a few months, they would get housing. They were smart enough to have figured that out, and they saw it. They said, they come in, they talk to history people like me, and they hear what happened, and they say, and so they start up a little deal. That's the scam. Mm-hmm. No matter who you are in this world, from the smallest baby who immediately learns, wah, and you come running,
yeah.
and learns it,
mm-hmm.
and then goes, wah, whenever it wants. Anything, not what it needs, but now anything that I want. You don't just cater to my needs, you cater to my wants. They learn that right away. That's a scam. Mm-hmm. And it's everybody and every day does these little things that are Uncle Scam. You have an uncle? Yes. What's your uncle's scam?
My uncle's scam?
Yeah, what's your uncle's scam?
What, am I my own family, or?
Yeah. Your uncle has a scam. Every uncle does.
Well,
it's that little
yeah.
thing you do to get by.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's that little thing I do to get by that's just a little bit off. It's just a little bit not legal. I collect the extra $5. I do,
That makes
That's
sense.
a scam.
Yeah.
I drive too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Another scam on society. And this society in particular is based on that individual scam. Everybody has their own. If you go to most countries, you go to Germany, you find out that they all have the same scam. It's not individual. They all have this, and when he wants to do his individual scam, he comes to America. It's not, people don't come to America, people come to America to get rich. It's the land of milk and honey. And how do they get rich? They scam. Right from the start. First, I only work for my cousin who hires me illegally. I work for him for $2 less. I sleep with my other 5 cousins. I can do that for a long time because I'm young. Once I get married, now I can have those same 5 cousins come live with me. They pay the rent, and I pay for my baby. More scams. He knows it. So that's where Uncle Scam comes from. It's that whole business of what I do in my everyday life to get over on you. Some people bat their eyes. Some people have eyes in the first place. Okay.
So do you feel that this act has transformed from its original intent or over the years? Has it changed very much?
No, actually, this is one thing that I'm very proud of. Almost from the first day, almost my first puppet show was a puppet that I found in the trash, a little ugly girl puppet, and a puppet that my girlfriend made of a banker. Big fats. And the whole show was a story about a girl who was adopted by an arms manufacturer who had made the bombs that killed the baby's parents. That was the whole show. And in the end, the baby ends up killing the banker for killing her parents with the bombs. And okay, that was the whole show.
And how long ago was this show?
That was 1992.
Okay.
And I did that show for only 2 months. I quickly found that show didn't sell one bit. And then I went to a show in which I had Bill Clinton and Mother Goose. And Mother Goose sang nursery rhymes with the kids. You got to understand, a puppet show is a kid's show. So 90% of my money comes from kids. I did Mother Goose and Bill Clinton. And on the side, my girlfriend was making me puppets and painting faces. I did all the costumes. She did all the painting faces. So I was selling these things as war orphans and government officials. See? And because I couldn't sell them, I was actually holding kind of an auction and auctioning off war orphans and government officials.
In puppet form?
In puppet form, yes. 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 And so Bill Clinton would sit there and run the auction. Mother Goose would sing your ABCs and every other kid's song. Yeah, I got grandkids now, so when I was 15 years old, I started this show right on time. So that was it. And from there, Mother Goose and Bill, of course, we did Bill Clinton stuff. And then I hung out an ear. And I put an earring on the bottom of it that said Hillary's ear. So people could, this is when Clinton was running for office, if you remember. People could talk to Hillary's ear. See, and how do you get to Bill, who's my star on stage? Right? You talk through Hillary's ear, put a microphone in it, and people would come up and talk to Hillary's ear. I have videos of this show on YouTube.
Okay, so I can go in.
Oh yes, you can see this show with the kids interacting while I'm doing politics. Okay, this was a good one because it was this steel ring sitting on top of a tricycle. Okay, I'm sitting on the tricycle itself, working over the back of it, and an ear sticking out on a pole with Hillary's ear on it, and Bill and Mother Goose sitting up on top of it. And on the left side, right on the circle in front of the cafe, you know, the stairs that go down, those two circles, I put a wishing well. I brought a big steel tub in, a wash tub, set it on there. The people inside gave me 10 gallons of water a day, which I carried through their restaurant when I got there. I filled up the tub. My friend George Mocrae gave me a solar fountain that sprays water up. Put it in the sun, you know, and the sun makes it raise a column of water.
Oh, wow. And you have that on video
and
as
this,
well?
I don't have that on video as well. I do have pictures of it though. My
Great.
website's great. So sitting there, and then I put on a thing on the top that said wishing well. You know. So let's see. Okay, that was that show. You asked about shows. Shows are, you know, it's what I do. So then I did that for a long time. I did that the whole Clinton era was done as Mother Goose and Bill. The whole thing. And we sold War Orphans. So this was like 8 years I did that show. Then Bush came in. And when Bush came in, I couldn't do Bush. You know, I didn't have a puppet of Bush that I could do. I couldn't, you know, I can't do an accent. I can't do any of the things I need to do Bush. You know, I just couldn't do. So I decided that instead I would make a big puppet that represented Bush. I also wanted to get off the tricycle. You know, that's hard sitting on a bicycle seat for 6-7 hours a day.
Well, I think we were on the topic of when you changed your puppet. I think we were on the topic of when you changed your puppet and why, and it was around the Bush administration time.
Mr. Bush, here I got it. So anyway, I went to this puppet that was basically a blackface puppet. I did it in blackface. It was big. It was 6 foot tall. It was 3.5 feet across. It had a mouth that was 2 foot. No, that's not right. I lied. I went to the Blue Meanie. The Blue Meanie was my first big puppet. That was the first year. And I remember that one well because the Blue Meanie was a compassionate conservative, specifically for Mr. Bush. Mammy came the second term. And the Blue Meanie was based on the Beatles, of course, because, well, even though I was a folk singer instead of a rock and roll star, they were still there. You can't deny they were there. No denialists here. So Mr. Bush came in and I went to the Blue Meanie, and people really didn't understand that puppet, but the kids liked it a lot more. You know, the kids really liked this big puppet. It was smooth, it was, you know. And at that time, I also came up with the best puppet I ever could have imagined. Nostradamus, my booger. I got to tell you, this is the best puppet this is, if you just think about boogers and how reviled they are, even though everybody eats them, they're very tasty, but everybody hates them, you know? Boogers, and everybody laughs immediately when you say the word, which is the part I really like, you know? So the Blue Meanie. Oh, God, that was a weird year. The Blue Meanie, because that was like 2001. What year was that? Come on, I did for 8 years until 2000, and then 2000 I changed to the Blue Meanie, so it had been 2 years in, and I only did the 2 Meanie. Okay. Nostradamus, the most wonderful puppet. tiny little thing pops out of the nose, and the only working booger in America. Your booger's not making any money, is it? No. The only pitch line in the whole thing, and nobody gets it. You know? So, I lied earlier. I do hat pitches. But just like that, it's not, give me your money or I'll marry your daughter. It's funny. But you do it over and over and over again. I do a trick and I give them a hat pitch. And I do a trick and I give them a hat pitch. I hate that.
But
hate
that puppet went over really well? Or?
This puppet, Nostradamus has been a hit ever since he started. Ever since. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Bush was easy. You know, I could do the Blue Meanie. The Blue Meanie basically was a fascist henchman. That was the whole anti-fascist deal with the Beatles, and they were very big on it because Britain was very big on anti-fascism. They knew what it was. It blew the fuck out of their world, you know? Those people are all dead. They don't know what it means anymore. Oh. Four years of Bush, obvious war, terror, blah, da, 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 you know, it's just same old politics from a blithering idiot. You know, very easy show. Very easy show. At the same time, the street performance in Harvard Square was steadily going downhill. There were less and less street performers. There were very many after 2001 people. The people just stopped coming to Harvard Square because Harvard Square is a bastion of rich kids. And rich kids are targets. They got rid of rent control. Rent control drove all the poor people out of Cambridge. When I started working in Harvard Square, we did a family with 5 kids, a family with 6 kids, lived in Cambridge. By 2001, we dealt with no family of 5 or 6 kids. They all had 1 or 2. And they all had air conditioning in their houses, and they didn't come to Harvard Square anymore. All the street performers disappeared. Right now, there are no street performers in Harvard Square if I don't show up.
Yeah, I haven't seen many. I've seen some musicians.
Guitar players.
Guitar players,
Sure,
yeah.
we're always going to have guitar players.
And I saw one statuist.
Oh, you see? Yeah, you'll see a
marionette.
statue. The marionette comes out still, yeah. Lenny Solomon came out a couple of times earlier in the summer. Oh, but that's now, and that's later. So let's see. Okay, so I did that for 4 years, and then that puppet fell apart. Big cloth puppets don't last long outdoors. So then I did my mama puppet. Big. I love this puppet. When it blew out, it was a full... Oh, you remember that puppet, Werner. That was beautiful. This puppet was bright blue, back of head, big orange skirt, and red, white, and blue legs sticking out the bottom.
Are there videos and photos available of
There
this
are
one as well?
videos of this one, yes. Nostradamus came along. This puppet is great. I'm
And that was
serious.
the same
Nostril,
puppet
the
with
same
the orange
same
and the
puppet. I
blue?
actually took the same puppet head out and put him back in a different nose. He's now in a third nose, so actually he'd been through a third nose already. That's right. And that puppet was a blackface puppet because by now it was clear that this was a racist regime coming in. This Bush by now was right flat. you know. And I knew that when I started, but I didn't think he'd do it, you know. I thought that he was a little more stable. His daddy was close, but, you know, started that whole, after Reagan gave up and walked away.
So maybe we can kind of take a little bit of a leap to maybe what is going on now and what are your hopes for the future as far as this situation goes with the street performing and the puppets. We have obviously new people in office, and we have new people here coming into their offices in Harvard Square, and we have new
I am the whole.
and the old.
Yeah, no, that's too wide open. For me, personally, things changed drastically about 2 years ago, and I worked all last year like it didn't matter, but this year I didn't work all summer long, so I'm getting out now. Yeah? Oh.
So this year you didn't work much in the summer on the street, and
No, I didn't work at all this year. I took the whole summer off.
and there was reason for that as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty much, I got melanoma, and we're going to play with that for a while. It sapped most of my energy, and it put me in a position where I just couldn't see putting myself in front of children and doing what I would have done for a show. I do a stream of consciousness, you know. There's never been one rehearsal, there's never been one planning session or even thought beforehand to any show I've ever done. You know, I literally, every time I walk out, just do it. I've had 18 years of just doing it, so just doing it becomes its own routine. I can do it in my sleep. I haven't yet.
Maybe no one has caught you yet.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you about your family and what they think and feel about what you do over the years.
My family is almost totally oblivious to what it is that I do. I have a few cousins who've seen it. I've had a few who've been, you know, come in to see me. I don't believe that my mother has ever seen my show to this point.
Is she nearby, or?
My father died a couple of years ago. But it's just I don't invite people to see my show.
That makes sense.
Huh?
So they don't necessarily.
And they don't come to Harvard Square very often, and it's just the way it's been, that's all.
They haven't shared their thoughts or feelings about it as much.
No, I don't. The problem is that my family, I have only lived with my family for the last 3 or 4 years. So they're close, but they're there and I live here, and they don't come to the city, and I don't. I go to the country. They live on a beach. So now for the last 3 years, I've lived on the beach. I got this melanoma, and it's stopping me from moving around, so I need some place to sit. And they have a place to sit, so that's what families are for. You know? And as I have to sit, it works well.
Well, the next stream of questions really may get a bit interesting. It kind of starts out with what your worst experience on the street was and what your best experiences were, and feel free to expand on either.
I have to say that I can't think of one really great experience in all of it. I believe that every show I do is the best show I can do. I don't pull any punches. I don't think I hold back from doing anything in any show that I do. I think it's all just flat out.
So you must have had a lot of experiences with
Bad
children.
experiences I've had. No, kids are all alike. All kids are dogs. You know, I remember as many dogs as I do kids. But when the kid comes back, 15 years later and brings his kid, that is very interesting. I have to admit that's really good. And it's mostly times when I'm not working that the good things happen. Working a show is just a show. It's you go on and you do it, and you hope you make a little bit of money, and you hope you make people smile, but you really don't care because I do my show for me. See? I don't do the show for them. I'm this, that ego is just sitting there going, nah! So that part of what goes on is in my life anyway. But once I get out and people talk to me, and the people come up and talk to me, I'm riding down the street on my bicycle, and the kid rides by and goes, "Oh, great show the other day, man!" Now I'm hot. That's what it's all about.
So it creates some togetherness.
Well, he understood what I was talking about. Because there's at no time do the politics go to a point of something I can't say to a kid, which is why I didn't work this summer. Because there were things I wanted to say this summer that I knew that I couldn't. So no, that's serious, and it has proven out. I think I may be a little bit risque for kids even now. I've been out 2 days now, and I think there are parts of what I'm doing that may be just a little bit too loose. I did one show. I had a show called Anti-Scam's Butt. And I had a 6-foot-tall puppet dressed like a female Uncle Sam. Uncle Scam, in my case. And put big tits on her and a big plastic butt with a microphone sticking out of it. I'll send you these URLs. And put it on a rolling stand. Okay? One of them round things you push clothes stand. And I put an amplifier on the stand so it didn't fall over. Microphone sticking out the butt. What's the name of this show? Kiss Anti-Scam's Butt. No, I don't put this up in a little sign, Kiss Anti-Scam. Oh no, I put this up full poster size, Kiss Anti-Scam's Butt. And I put this on top of my tricycle. So I'm riding down the street with this thing sitting behind me, right?
Did I go over well?
It was a great show. It was the only time I ever played Somerville that they didn't throw me out. If I went down and tried to set up my puppet, and do my normal show, and I took up a lot of space, I'd take up a good 15 feet and 4 deep. So they throw me out. Somerville doesn't like politics. You can go over there and play your folk music, but don't come over here with the politics. We're not gonna. Tougher town right now. But they didn't throw that show out. They thought that one was good. I had politicians kiss this spot. I got over 150 people up on my website of people kissing this spot. This is a good show. As a show. I went to do the 4th of July. And I was on the river. And I was working right behind, because that's where the road goes. I want to see the fireworks at the end. And I'm riding my tricycle up and down the street, and people are coming out and kissing the butt, and I'm taking their picture. And this thing is, you got to understand, I'm on my tricycle's this tall, and this thing is standing on the thing, so the butt is 10, 12-year-old reach, but not 7, 8, not, but 10, 12, they knew what they were doing. They understood how funny it was. Cops' kids. I can't go over that line. If I get one of them police guys to decide he wants to go after my ass, I can be looking at trouble. Just free speech doesn't live very easy. It does because we do it, but it doesn't, you got to push it all the time. He came after me with the charge of, went to the police department and put a charge on me for age inappropriate entertainment. I said, okay, I'll accept that. What's that mean? And he said, well, I don't know, but my kids like your show. And I've never seen you do anything. This was a strictly political show. It's just flat out political. There was never any sex in it. Well, except for when the brides came up with their dildos. And the bridesmaids and all that stuff. Then it got sexy, but that wasn't me. I was always talking about what South America and the Latin American countries knew about Annie Scam's butt and how you kiss it or we'll blow the hell out of you. That was the whole theme of that show. Oh, she was in Red, White, and Blue being powerful. Well, he said he wouldn't do nothing about it, but, he'd just go back and toss it in the can, but I should stop because the guy wasn't going to lay off me. I got 4 months out of that show. It was okay.
Well, I have a couple more questions now. And the first one, before we close, is about other street buskers. If there's anyone maybe who's passed that you want to remember and describe, or anyone that you particularly cared about who was a street busker in the past 20 years or so.
I do know a couple of street performers that I liked, yeah. I like Mark. Mark the juggler was a nice guy. He, flaky, but what can you do? Street performers are flaky. He was nice. He walked a slack rope. Yes, and he finally street performance is weird because you're always up against people. That's who you're working these people, and everybody knows you're working them. That's the idea. You're working us, kid, but so you can go so far, you can be nasty as hell, you can be vulgar, you can be anything you want with people, and they'll generally accept it. But sometimes you just get nasty, because living on the streets is hard. It's not an easy because you have to deal with these assholes every day, you know, and they make you pay to get your money. He had people holding his rope up, okay? And he did a hippie act, you know, a whole deal, long hair, talking peace and love and jive and all that stuff, you know. He was there. He had that down. Everybody loved it. But he started getting nasty. I got people holding my rope up. Damn if somebody didn't pull the rope. You know, most time people get mad, they walk away, leave the rope. You can feel that coming and you can hit the ground pretty easy, you know. This guy pulled the rope, launched him. He didn't come down good. You know, so you gotta be careful. But Mark was a good one.
There was a man who was involved in solar energy.
Solar energy, who? George Mocrae. George Mocrae does that stuff. He didn't do it very long, no. He's really not a street performer, George. Oh, I don't know what to call George.
We know him as Solar George.
Solar George, yeah. Solar Ray. No, George is big on the. I think more than solar though. Solar has its limits now. My tent is supposed to be set up and I have a solar hat for this puppet I have. But it's fall and I don't want to bring it out because there ain't enough sun to make me happy with it. It's too big to carry. I got to figure out where to keep it. I'm losing my throat.
So maybe
But I'm losing my throat
It's getting
too.
darker.
okay. There's just one more thing. Maybe
okay.
a message.
I want to say Perry the Hobo. Okay, I just want to say Perry the Hobo. Probably the greatest clown I ever knew. He was dying of cancer and he knew it, and he came out and he worked every day. And he was in pain every day. And he took his medication and did it. So Perry the Hobo, I hear everybody else hated his guts because he whistled. That was his deal. He whistled and blew balloons. And he sped out on an 8-ball, you know. Couldn't wait any longer, but he was dying already.
And I can find information about him as
Perry
well.
the Hobo, you find a lot, yeah. He comes out of New Orleans. He came up here for the last 3-4 years of his life. Better cancer treatment up here than anywhere, you know. So, yeah.
If you wanted to give a message, this is a closing piece, just give a message to young art students and young students that are interested in politics. What would you want to, if there's anything that you would...
I have a degree in communications theater arts from Bridgewater State College, and they have never offered to hire me back. And I've made a fair living being a puppet guy for 10 out of 18 years anyway. First aid, I always was working and you know, always had a job as well as doing it. So I was able to be a dilettante because I worked for it. And now it's got to work for me.
But it's art students who want to take a risk.
Students?
And they want to do what they believe in. And
First, don't believe in anything, just do it. Believing in things really is the path to destruction in art. Believing in things is the path to destruction. Knowing, this is my art. This is me. This is not some picture of me. This is me. I'm not practicing. Okay, I'm not gonna get better. You know, I don't get better. I every time do the best I can. That's all you can do. And then, you know, life happens. And at the end, if people remember you as being a great artist, I guess you were. And if they don't, then I guess you weren't. To them. But I do my show for me. Oh yeah, that's it.
That's great.